Hi everyone. Hope you all are good. We are here for grade 10 math. You can find all the lessons on aplusstudents.com. You have to log in there using your email address and password as provided by the administrator. Then you have to select math from the subject tab. Scroll down to grade 10 math and then click on view all lessons. There you can find a list of the chapters. We're going to start with the chapter probability. The lessons we're going to cover today are theoretical and experimental probability, compound events, find the outcomes, find the number of outcomes, independent and dependent events. So please make sure you have your notebook and pencil so that you can note down the important examples and definitions as well. Here I am on grade 10 math. Chapter we're on right now is probability. Let's just start with the first example, that is theoretical and experimental probability. May supplies consume costumes to a number of theater companies. She recently provided 14 different hats, including 7 mortarboards. What is the experimental probability that the next hat requested from May's inventory will be a mortarboard? So the probability of mortarboard is 7 out of 14. The mortarboards are 7 and the total are 14. That is 7 out of 14. That equals 1 by 2. So the probability of mortarboard is 1 by 2. That is 1 by 2. Let's just start with the test questions. May supplies costumes to a number of theater companies. She recently provided 14 boards. What is the experimental probability that the next hat requested from May's inventory will be a mortarboard? The probability of mortarboard is 7 out of 14. That equals 1 by 2. Option number 1 is the correct option. You spin the spinner once. What is the probability of prime? Write your answer as a percentage. So the prime numbers here we have is 2, 5 and 7. So the probability of prime is 2 out of 4. 2 out of 4 is 50%. The correct option is option number 1. That is 50%. Option number 1 is the correct option. Mitch's mother recorded how many donuts she has eaten over the past few months. What is the experimental probability that the next donut Mitch eats will be a glazed donut? The glazed donuts are 2 divided by the total donuts. That is 2 out of 18. That equals 1 over 9. Option number 1 is the correct option. The table shows the enrollment in a university class so far, broken down by student type. What is the experimental probability that the next student to enroll will be a graduate student? The probability of graduate is 4 over 14. That is 4 over 12. The graduates are 4. The total of them are 12. That is 1 out of 3. Option number 1 is the correct option. What is the probability of what is the probability of blue or brown? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is 6 out of 8. That is 75%. Option number 1 is the correct option. Option number 1 is the correct option. 75% it is. Rona runs a daycare center. Of the last 12 children to enroll at the daycare babies, what is the experiment probability that the next child to enroll will be a baby? So that is 2 out of 12. That is 1 out of 6. Option number 1 is the correct option. Ethan has pulled 5 blue marbles and 10 other marbles from a large bag. What fraction is the what is fraction the experimental whole probability next that the next marble selected from the bag will be blue? That is 5 out of that is 5 out of 15. Option number 1 is the correct option. 1 by 3 it is. Okay, you can complete the lesson by yourself later today. Let me just move on to next lesson. The next lesson is compound events. Find the number of outcomes. You pick a card and flip a coin, how many outcomes are possible? So compound events means more than one event, right? Whenever you are going to work on compound events, so that means you have more than one events. Like here you have you pick a card and flip a coin. We have two events here. One is the event we're going to pick a card. The second is we're going to flip a coin. How can we calculate the outcomes? So look at the outcomes for the card. We have five cards, right? And the outcomes for the coin is 2. So 5 times 2 is 10. The total outcomes for both the events we have is 10. Let's just start with the test questions. You pick a card and flip a coin. How many outcomes are possible? So 5 cards we have and 2 coins, that is 5 times 2 is 10. That is 10. Option number 1 is the correct option. You pick a marble and spin the spinner. How many outcomes are possible? That is 2 times 4. 2 times 4 is 8. Option number 1 is the correct option. 8 it is. You spin the spinner and flip a coin. How many outcomes are possible? 2 times 5 is 10. Option number 1 is the correct option. 10 it is. You pick a marble and flip a coin. How many outcomes are possible? That is 2 times 2 is 4. Option number 1 is the correct option. You pick a card and roll a die. How many outcomes are possible? So we have 5 outcomes for the cards and 6 for the dice. So 6 times 5 is. That is 30. Option number 2 is the correct option. You spin the spinner and pick a marble. How many outcomes are possible? That is 6 times 3 is 18. Option number 2 is the correct option. Six times 2 it is. That is 12. Option number 2 is the correct option. You flip you flip a coin and pick a marble. How many outcomes are possible? So we have 2 outcomes for the coin and 4 outcomes for the marble. So 2 times 4 is. That is 8. Option number 2 is the correct option. You flip a coin and spin the spinner. How many outcomes are possible? That is 6 times 2 is 12. Option number 2 is the correct option. You roll a die and pick a card. How many outcomes are possible? That is 6 times 2 is 12. Option number 2 is the correct option. Okay, we are done with the lesson. Let's just move on to next lesson. The next lesson is independent events. The next lesson is dependent independent events. So let's just start with the lesson. Isaac picks a marble at random. Without putting the first marble back, he picks a second marble at random. Are these two events dependent or independent? The first thing you dependent events. So here we are given two of the events. The first event is you pick a marble. The second event is you pick another marble. So there we are given two events. First time when you are going to pick the marbles, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. First time we have 9 marbles. Without putting the first marble back, when you pick the first marble, you have 9 marbles. The second time when you are going to pick the marbles, you have 8 marbles. So when the outcomes for both the events are different, that means they are the dependent events. So both the events are dependent events. Let's just start with the test questions. Isaac picks a marble at random without putting the first marble back. He picks a second marble at random. Are these two events dependent or independent? For the first event, there are 9 marbles, right? When you are going to put the first marble, we have 9 marbles here. But for the second time, you have one marble less than the first time. So the events are they are the dependent events. Option number 2 is the correct option. Abby buys a sculpture at an art showing show featuring one of a kind art. A few minutes later, Becky comes to the same art show and buys a sculpture too. Are these two events dependent or independent? So the two events are dependent because one of a kind art means one you have only you have only one art, right? If Becky comes the second time, he could not find the one Epi buys. So they are the dependent events. Marshall pulls a coin out of his pocket and places on the table. Then he reaches back into his pocket and take out a second coin. Are these two events dependent or independent? Because, for example, first time when he is going to pick a marble, he have four marbles in his pocket, and when the second time he is going to pick the marble, he have one less than the first time. So students in a fifth grade class are writing reports on famous inventors. Each student may choose one inventor from a list. The teacher do not want any repeats. Leon chooses first, followed by Alice. Are these two events dependent or independent? So here the teacher does not want any repeat. For example, when Alice Leon is going to pick, Leon have four options, right? So when Alice is going to pick the option, she have three options. So the outcomes of the first second events are affected by the first event, so that means they are the dependent events. The correct option is dependent events. They are the dependent events. Ruby and Alexa get messages from the same person on Monday. Ruby calls and picks one of the available appointment times. On Tuesday, Alexa calls and picks one of the remaining appointments. Are these two events dependent or independent? So, which is the correct option? The two events are dependent because the appointment Ruby picked is not available for the Alexa. Students in the composition class may select certain topics on which to write an essay. These are allowed and they do not need to inform the teacher of due date of the easy essay. Are these two events dependent or independent? Do not the teacher do not repeats are allowed. So they are the independent events. Manual, an employee at a marketing company, is conducting phone surveys of randomly selected people. On the first call, he random dial the random dialing system connects Manuel with someone named Robert. On the second phone call, the random dialing system connects Manuel to someone named Tammy. These two events dependent or independent? They are the independent event because the system is calling randomly. Okay, you can complete the lesson by yourself later today. So we were grade 10 math. What we were working on is probability. The lessons we have covered today are experimental probability, compound events, find the number of outcomes, independent and dependent events. So please make sure before the next session you can complete all the practice questions for the lessons we just did. That is your homework until next session. So if you need more help with any of the lessons, you can simply click on the live chat button. Tutors are available there to help you, or either you can write them down in the chat box. I'm here to answer all your questions and confusions if you have any. So, any questions you can please ask if you have any. No questions.